a decent amount of my clients, not the majority, but a good chunk of them have practices. And the biggest pain point right now is hiring. And so that is going to be so clutch. That's going to be amazing. So can I tell you something before we finish? I was planning, I told my wife, I said, babe, I need to go down to Miami, blah, 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 blah. I was like, listen, I speak on Saturday, so don't worry. We'll have the day together on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. I got to go back to my wife now and say, I think I gotta go to this whole conference. This is gonna be great. This is awesome. This sounds fantastic. And I think this is exactly what people need right now.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you as always for joining me, my friends. I have a special, how many times can I say that? Special guest today. Someone that I've known actually before I started SSPT. We've had this very interesting relationship where we were in each other's lives for a certain amount of time, and then I started doing my thing, you were doing your thing, and over the last 2 years or so, we've reconvened. Brandon Siegel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Such a pleasure and truly a blessing. I absolutely love what you're doing, and to be in your presence is awesome, but also to co-create, to bring our knowledge together, to supercharge the private practice and entrepreneurs in healthcare. It's something very special to my heart.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate you so much. I remember when me and you went to Sweet Sage Cafe.
Yeah.
I came home, and I remember I told my wife, I said, I was just with someone that fills my cup. She goes, so Sky's so awesome. So anyways, okay. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about who you are, what you do? I'm sure a good amount of my audience that's listening knows who you are, but there's a lot of people that don't. So go ahead. Yeah.
So obviously I'm Brandon Siegel, and for me, I've always been drawn to changing the world. It's always been something that's been really passionate. I have a company called WellnessWorks Management Partners, and the whole idea is how do we bring function back to healthcare through restoring operations in a private practice?
Gotcha.
And so for us, what we're doing is we're building solutions around people, all the human resource solutions, systems, software, people, management, leadership, all of that. Medical billing, we're trying to fight these insurances to get people paid. And so we're transforming the bottom line. And then on top of that, I'm trying to educate the world. And that's really that vision of how we light a fire under people to value what healthcare is in today's world. And so just what I keep saying is the only way to fix a broken system is to start all over.
Wow.
And I'm trying to start all over by laying a new foundation of expectations, strategies, systems, and solutions all in place.
Wow. Okay. Let's get into this because there's so much. Let's talk about, recently something crazy happened with the whole UnitedHealthcare CEO.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like this breaking point, this tipping point that people are getting to. And I'm not endorsing people hurting other people and all that other stuff, but obviously there's a lot of issues. You're in it every day. You're seeing it with practices. The majority of the practices that you're working with are insurance-based, correct? Yep. Can we talk about some of the problems? Because yes, you want to change the world. Let's talk about the problems that our listeners that have private practices are dealing with. So tell me what you are seeing out there.
So the first pain point that I think a lot of us turn our back on is the idea that most patients don't value our services in a quantitative way. So they value our services qualitatively, but they don't put a financial value on it because we've been programmed that insurance should pay for it.
Right.
So the first problem is I think we've lost our value proposition on a quantitative, measurable basis with society.
Okay.
Layered on top of people only have so much money, and the way that they choose to spend their money is outside of the region of health.
Right.
So that right off the bat sets a precedent in which insurance holds the cards, because people have said, I'm only going to do what insurance is willing to cover.
Because in their mind, they have invested already in that, right? So I've invested in my insurance premium.
Yep.
Okay, now you all take care of the rest.
Yep.
Okay. And so, okay.
And
This is real. This is an issue.
And from that view, the problem is when I invest every month in health insurance, I kind of look at it like I'm placing all my money on a roulette table and I hope that it picks up. I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know if I'm getting 50% return on my dollar, 10% return on my dollar, or I'm losing it all. Like, truly, there's no defining algorithm to evaluate the return on investment that I'm getting financially with what I invest in my premium every month.
Right.
And the problem that we see is that people's premiums are going up, our care reimbursements going down, and someone on the other side is getting richer. And it's not me, and it's not the families or patients or whatnot. And so we have a healthcare system that is not transparent. And so with other things we do, we either know that we're taking on risk and there's no return. Like when we put money in stocks, we're betting on trends, but there's no guarantees.
Right.
When we're putting money in healthcare insurance, we're betting on the fact that it will cover our needs, wants, and desires on a health basis, which is untrue.
Right. Wow. So what do we do about it?
So the first thing we need to do, in my personal opinion, is we need to separate what a patient needs medically that we can mandate coverage for and put the quantitative value of that based around what we're getting reimbursed. And then we have to focus on everything that is not covered under that medical necessity and create a totally new value proposition for patients that they can access through other means, cash, FSA, HSA, other resources.
Right.
But the idea that we're trying to fit all of what we do into this little box, it's not sustainable.
Right.
On either side.
Right. Right.
And one of the things I say is, if we all as a society stood together to say we want transparency in insurance, we could change the world. If all of a sudden I said, every single physical therapist out there, let's band together, even though it's illegal.
Great. Yeah.
And we're going to walk away from UHC. We're not going to do their insurance anymore. We would change the game.
Right.
And what's interesting is that in sports and entertainment, they can unionize, but in healthcare, we're not allowed to.
Right. It's so crazy. It really is that simple. It really is that simple for us to do, but we won't do it. And I think I have a few reasons why. I think people are just so scared, so scared of what's on the other side. So it's like, I would rather have a certain hell in my life than to have a potential uncertain heaven in my life, you know? And so people won't do it, unfortunately. But you're dealing with clients and practices every single day.
Every single day.
So what are you telling them?
So what I'm telling them is I'm saying, let's create a 3 tax ID business algorithm. And that 3 tax ID business algorithm is we've got our medical model with our MPI, our tax ID, and we focus on what is classified as medical necessity.
Okay.
We treat based on the payer sources requirements in order to regulate medical delivery of services that are justifiable and consistent, and we can streamline the way that we collect payment for that.
Okay.
So that's one tax ID. The other tax ID is what I call truly our functional well-being. That is anything and everything outside of the black and white of medical necessity. And that operates totally clean from our healthcare system, and we can tap into other resources, and we're not bound by the same contractual bias as the insurances.
So you're considering that like cash-based services?
Cash-based, but that could be
Products,
products. That could be anything. That could be direct-to-employer funding. Anything that is not government-issued or commercial insurance would fall under that sector.
So what's a third?
The third is our MSO. And the third is where we create a management employment group that supports these 2 entities and potentially others. You're already doing something great. Why not offer your greatness to things above and beyond your operating basis?
Wow.
And so that's what I've done with my own companies is we've got our employee group, our MSO, we're managing, we're supporting. If I'm doing HR for my own company, why can't I do it for others?
Right.
And so what if we were able to create a coalition of clinics that don't want to have that MSO and put their employees under us and help staff their own clinics around the community and support and start to bring a coalition of change both on a medical funded model as well as value model, and then also just greater health model.
Okay, practice owners, did you just hear this? We talked about this a little bit when we were at breakfast about a year or so ago, and you were explaining it to me. Brandon is setting up 3 different tax IDs for this practice, okay? Not 1, but 3, and separating it out, okay? First one, all it's doing is what we gotta do through insurance, basically the black and white of insurance. Okay, leave that over here. Then we've got number 2, which is anything else. Start thinking outside the box. What are other things that we can do that can help to accelerate, that can help to amplify our patients' results? We're gonna put that under that business.
And I
Right?
said, I'm going to jump in here.
Uh-huh.
What are the things that your clients are already budgeting or paying for that easily tap in that they can get under your umbrella?
Right.
So even this idea of, I work in pediatrics a fair amount, and my son is 8 years old and is diehard baseball.
Right.
I take him to the hitting academy. Why can't these pediatric physical therapy companies tap into hitting academy?
Right.
Why can't they offer body mechanics? Why can't they offer tutoring? Why can't they offer theater and art lessons? Why are we stuck in just a standard medical model in what we deliver?
Because we are so used to having this one tax ID. And in that one tax ID, we can only do this, this, and this. So it shuts off our brain to anything else.
Yep.
Because we know that, okay, we have to fall under Medicare rule, we have to fall under Medicaid rule, we have to fall under this person's rule, Blue Cross rule, United, Cigna, da. So everything falls on that rule, which means that I can't do anything else. I can't open up my brain to all those other things because I'm so afraid of what will happen if I do those things and what will happen to my relationship with these people over here.
So we're trying to break down the shackles of insurance.
Yeah, gosh.
We've been imprisoned by a system that tells us what to do, how to do it,
Right.
when we do it. And even this example, I'll give you one example recently. Had a client, they came in, they had Blue Cross insurance, claim gets paid.
Mm-hmm.
Family doesn't realize that that wasn't in the primary, it was the secondary.
Right.
Blue Cross paid for it. All of a sudden, Blue Cross retracts the payment, takes it away from the practice. Practice goes, the family goes, oh, I forgot, I have UHC as the primary. Bill UHC, nope, we're not covering, timely fine. And it's like, how is that system broken?
Right.
You're going, because families don't know this stuff.
Right.
And so we have to break those shackles. We have to show that we can survive and sustain and deliver qualitatively above and beyond what they quantitatively feed us.
Oh my goodness. As you're talking, I've realized that's what I did. I didn't even know I did it.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, let me just say this, and then I want to move over to talking about like the big thing that's coming up in January. Okay. So when I realized, like, with renewal rehab, what I did was in 2000. So I started renewal rehab in 2006. That's when I bought into it, right? So just a one practice, hole in the wall place in Hyde Park. Okay. I bought it to renewal rehab, and I said, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up the second location on where I used to be, which is in the West Chapel area, right? But I knew that I was working with insurance, but I also worked with professional tennis players. So I decided, I didn't do it initially, but it was messing with my head. So what I decided to do was to create a separate company and call it TheraFit. And TheraFit was where I did anything that was outside of what I knew insurances would allow me to do, right? And so I think that was the game changer for me. I wasn't smart enough like you to figure out, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. But I'm like, oh crap, that's what I did. In 2008, I created TheraFit.
Yeah.
And TheraFit was where I did all these other things. And that's where I was able to mess around and come up with all these different ideas of how I could serve people. I knew that people already trusted me. I used insurance as the loss leader. Come on in with insurance. I know that's the only reason why you're initially going to come in with me, but then I would make you play around in this other company. And that's where I was able to come up with all my different ideas, right? And then over time, as I started to realize, my staff would say, Greg, the mentoring the reason why we want to stay with you is because you're giving us all these opportunities to grow, expand, this and that, and it's through your mentoring that you've given us. I ended up starting another company with a different tax ID that was called Smart Success PT, Physical Therapy Builder. And it was really the mentoring that I was giving my staff anyways, all the systems that I had for my clinic anyway. All right, I'll share with you guys. And that ended up turning into a multi-million-dollar business.
Exactly.
Holy crap, you're smart, dude.
You're the one who did it.
I know, but you have the whole, I did not even, like, I just did the stuff off of, yeah, this makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
let's try this. But
Because
that is everybody should be doing this.
Your point was, I don't want to be held back.
Right.
And what we're trying to solve is two things. We're trying to solve how do we create access to care?
Right.
And how do we create quality of care? They can't be solved in one bucket.
Right.
So it's this idea of, well, Brandon, it's great that you want to have all these things, but I work in an area where they can't afford that. I'm like, well, I still want to serve the accessibility.
Right.
And then that qualitative piece might just be things that they're already budgeting for.
Right.
And that's where I think we lose sight is people spend cash every day, whether they're on food stamps or not.
Right. 100%.
And so how do we do it better?
Right. Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. One of the conversations I have to have with clients all the time is, look, your people, you might not think they're spending money. They might not be spending money on you the way that you want, but they are spending money. Every single time I go back to Jamaica, and so that's where I was born. And anytime we go back we usually go every like 2 to 3 years. Every time I go to Jamaica, whether I'm at the Kingston airport or at the Montego Bay airport, on our way to whatever hotel we're going to, we always see naked people. Just follow me here for a second.
Yeah.
Poor people, naked people. And every single time I see something, I'll see a few people, I'm like, wow, they didn't have any clothes, this, that, whatever. But I always will see this. At some point in the trip, I will see someone that is barely clothed that has an iPhone.
Yep.
How the hell did they get that?
And
They value the iPhone over the clothes.
well, I say the same thing when I go to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever. I see people that you're like, how did they get in here? And I mean no disrespect, but
Right.
it's a $10,000 trip. And
Right.
we know that so I'm not trying to discount it, but what I'm trying to say is they have prioritized the way that they access things differently.
Right.
And we want to connect accessibility in different methodologies that qualitatively mean something to people.
Brandon, you know, it's so interesting. The majority of masterminds that I have partaken in are not in healthcare. Okay. I understand that I run groups for healthcare providers, but the reality is that when I needed this for myself, and I still need it,
Yeah.
there was nothing in healthcare. There was no one to access it from, right?
Yep.
We're kind of the OGs in this game, right? I mean, we really are. By the way, we had a relationship from we were both consultants for a company called Blue Jay, which is a telehealth company back in the day. So that's how we knew each other. But one of the interesting things is that because the majority of the groups that I'm a part of are outside of healthcare, let me tell you how these business people look at healthcare. Right now, they're like, healthcare is a gold mine, and everybody is moving to healthcare. And I'm always so fascinated by this because I'm like, everybody in healthcare thinks we're in a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that, no, we're not. The issue is that it is in 3 buckets.
Yep.
The bucket that we're used to is the bucket that has all the confines on it.
Mm-hmm.
They, as in the people that I'm in these groups in, are messing with that second bucket, that qualitative bucket, that hey, these are all the other ways that the things that people value and that they are putting aside money for. They're like, let's get into this market, and they're killing it.
100%.
And we over here, even though we have the trust of the clients, even though we have the trust of the patients, even though people would take our direction if we were going into the second one, we won't do it because we are literally bound by the shackles, and we're like the elephant that has a shackle on. And even though we can move away from it, we won't because we're just mentally bound by it.
100%. And I bring it in this sense of, I'm sure you can resonate with this. Healthcare in general are late adopters.
Right.
We're at least 10 to 20 years behind other industries. And as a country, we're way behind many other countries.
Right.
I am finding that technology companies are seeping into healthcare sooner than us because they see how behind we are. Look at what Apple has invested in the last 5 years. So the market is changing, and it's interesting. I recently met with this company out of Dallas, and they're a technology company getting into the space, and they're like, your industry is so easy.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah.
You're just so behind because you're so stuck in playing by the rules that were dictated 50 to 100 years ago.
100%. Oh gosh. Okay. So let's talk about what you have been doing. Obviously, you work with practice owners. You help them with really all three sectors, but a lot of what you do is the billing,
The medical model.
the medical model, and the billing and stuff like that. So in a few minutes, can you just explain how would it be to work with you, and who is your typical client? I just want, because I don't do this. So like, who are the people out there that are listening that could actually be helped by you?
So first and foremost, we work in all different specialties, but occupational physical speech therapy, birth to geriatric therapists, will work with any and every. From that sector, we're helping you with all the fractional HR if you need help, hiring, firing, operations, handbooks, HIPAA, everything. I'll build your entire ecosystem of people like that.
Wow.
That's one thing.
Okay.
The second thing is if you work with insurance and you're looking for what I call is a true billing officer, we integrate into your system and your EMR. We're sending out, working on all the denials, we're contracting, and we're also negotiating with your payer sources. We become your chief billing officer and department from that, and you get free practice coaching as part of that whole equation.
So it doesn't matter if I'm with clinician, or I'm with Hello Node, or I'm with this one, da 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 da.
So it depends on EMRs
Yep.
for how we integrate. Some we're able to integrate more than others,
Okay.
but our goal is to work out of your EMR.
Okay,
Our
gotcha.
goal is to be plug and play, and our goal is you can fire me with 30 days notice like no other billing company
Wow.
can do.
Okay.
And the reason for this, and I'll just say it this way, the reason why I got into billing was because 97% of the billing companies I came across were garbage.
Yeah.
They're overseas, they're not getting it done, and they're not working your claims daily. So our whole rev cycle program is, it can't hurt to reach out to me and we'll explore. And if I'm not a right fit, I'll refer you to someone else. But the two main buckets I'm trying to solve is one, your people and your money.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to
Okay.
in that sense.
Gotcha. That's awesome. All right. You have an awesome event that is coming up in January. Let's talk about it. It's with some of my favorite people. A lot of your clients are some of my best friends. It's with you, which is one of my favorite people. And it's actually this year in one of my favorite places. You're going to Miami. So go ahead and talk about the event.
So the event's called Growth Code Conference. We're going on our third year.
Okay.
Don't be alarmed if you see that it's Growth Code Conference for Pediatric Therapy Private Practices. Truly, if you look at the content, it is great for anyone of any sector because all of the information is relevant. I had originally started it with this idea of bringing pediatric therapy practices together. And over the last 3 years, what I recognized is this content's relevant for anyone and anything, but it really solves a couple problems. First and foremost, it's 4 full days of content. You're going to get more content in 4 days. It starts at 6 a.m. with yoga, goes on to 6:30. We're literally doing group coaching around the coffee pot, and we're talking and solving your problems. Going into breakfast, you're breaking bread with everyone.
Right.
All of a sudden, we go into a general session. You're getting motivated, you're learning, you're growing, and then you get to pick your breakout path. And then at night, there's options if you want to go out, break more bread, have fun, celebrate. And what I find is that people that come say, first and foremost, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And that's my intention is I want your brain to kind of get tilted in a way where you're like, there's so much I need to know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because for me, the biggest thing that people lack is they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So if I give you a fire hose of information, you're going to find out how much you don't know so you can prioritize what you want to know.
Right. Gotcha. That's
And so 4 days, January 30th to February 2nd, go to growthcodeconference.com. We've got over 15 speakers. We've got over 40 hours of content learning. And you're going to be able to network. You're going to be able to strategize. You're going to be able to learn. You're going to be able to have fun, a little bit of everything.
Wow. That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm actually speaking this year, you guys. Yeah, I'm speaking this year. I'm really excited about it. And actually this week I was working on it with Brittany of what things I'm going to be talking about. And I'm not going to tell you guys know, man, I already bring the heat. So you guys just, and I'll hang out with you if you're there. Okay. So this is really cool. The first 2 years, I was not a part of it. I wasn't able to go. It seems like every single time we have our events, like at the same time. And we said this year, no, we're not going to do that, right? I've heard so many amazing things about this event. So many amazing things from like so many people. I've not heard I've heard your event is really, really, really good. So that's actually what kind of reignited our relationship, right?
Yeah.
I saw so many people talking about this event, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were doing an event. And so that's kind of what kind of got our relationship, reignited. All right, so let's talk about a few more things with regards to the event.
Yeah.
You talked about these three different buckets that you have of people that, or at least the way that we should be looking at our practices, right? We have the traditional medical model. I'm assuming you're going to have talks regarding how do I actually maximize the train wreck that this is. Am I correct?
Yes. So we're going to have a couple things on the insurance bucket. So we've got Rick Gawenda coming in. He's going to be doing all the documentation compliance, all of the coding compliance, what are the changes. But then we're also bringing in Kennedy Hawkins, who's a lawyer and specialist who's going to talk all about negotiating with insurance.
Okay.
I'm also bringing in my lawyer. And basically the idea is how can we out-lawyer the insurance companies is one of the goals.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's awesome.
so we're going to be having everything from medical billing, collections, insurance negotiation, but then we're also bringing in a clinician who actually created a big negotiation with Medicaid in Nebraska. And she's going to talk about how you leverage your clinical skills to negotiate with insurance as well. So that's all on that medical bucket side of things.
So the guys, the medical bucket side, this is really important because the reality is that you're already doing the work. Okay, you're already doing the work. You're already helping the people. Just many of you, you're just not getting paid what it is that you're supposed to get paid. So if you feel like, okay, information-wise, I just don't know what I don't know with that, I know for sure you're leaving money on the table. So I think if you just came for that, it would probably pay off for yourself tenfold. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about that middle part. That middle part is all the other things that we could be doing for people.
Yep.
What are you going to have there?
So obviously we're going to have you,
Yes.
which is incredible. And that idea of how do we leverage our staff to generate revenue outside of the medical model.
Right.
So I think that's really critical. We're going to be having discussions on how to grow our staff.
Right.
We're going to be having discussions on business algorithm and how to leverage your different approach to money. We're going to have financial planners and CPAs talk about how to make your money work for you. We're going to have people talk about who've actually scaled into, 7, 8 figures, how they've leveraged both medical and non-medical in that element. So those are all the different areas. But then the other thing, we're going to have a lot on that marketing idea. So conceptually, how are we marketing our brand to build something bigger than just, hey, I sell physical therapy or I sell occupational therapy. We get lost in the brand of our licensure.
Right.
And so we want to talk about branding beyond your licensure.
I love that. Oh gosh, man. Okay, man, I would love to talk on that too. I'll come to that one. Okay, that's great. All right. Okay, and then now let's talk about that third bucket. That third bucket is, all the other parts of your entity that we could basically build collectively with other practitioners or even have it as another potential revenue opportunity, right? Whether it's HR, this, that, da. So what are you going to talk about there?
So this is where I want to supercharge your entire infrastructure of people.
Okay.
So from HR to all of the liability insurances to benefits, all of that to one of the things I'm known for is creative compensation. So I'm giving a whole boot camp on how to flip your compensation so that it turns into a variable expense and it's tied to revenue in a compliant way where you're empowering co-creation with your staff. So we're going to build leveraging from a salaried model plus bonus, hourly model plus bonus, all the different leverage, but then also all of the clinical ladders, but also all the career ladders, and separating the difference between a clinical ladder and a career ladder and how that is tied to revenue generating function. And so those are all the different things of what does HR look like? How do we build HR? How do we build truly authentic people that are reaching their dream? One of the things I'm really proud of is with my mother-in-law's company, we average over 7 years of employment work retention. but the betterment of our staff at this point are over 15 years with us. And talking about those become brand ambassadors. Those eat, sleep, and breathe and become fanatics of what we represent as a group and not what we represent as just a company. And I think talking about the way that we leverage that in an ever-changing work environment, how to hire, how to recruit, where to find people, how to eliminate Indeed from your marketing budget. Those different factors we're going to focus on as well.
As a decent amount of my clients, not the majority, but a good chunk of them have practices. And the biggest pain point right now is hiring. And so that is going to be so clutch. That's going to be amazing. So can I tell you something before we finish? I was planning, I told my wife, I said, babe, I need to go down to Miami, blah, 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 blah. I was like, listen, I speak on Saturday, so don't worry. We'll have the day together on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. I got to go back to my wife now and say, I think I got to go to this whole conference. This is going to be great. This is awesome. This sounds fantastic. And I think this is exactly what people need right now. And I'm so excited to come to it. And it is in Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
So do you talked about breaking bread at night. Do you have any fun things planned? Or it's Gables. Oh my God, it's gonna be amazing.
So one of the events that I'm the most excited about is we're going to Little Havana and we're going to have a Cuban fusion night with Cuban music and food and everything. We're taking over the restaurant. It's going to be incredible.
That's awesome.
The other thing that I'm a very family guy.
Yeah.
Grew up, my grandfather was a lawyer, but really what he was known for is he started the first convertible sofa company ever called Riviera Sofas. He created the first sofa that turned into a bed and followed that with creating California Closets and whatnot. And then my father, who's a speaker and all that, carried on. And I bring this up because this will be the first time my father is taking the stage with me to speak at the conference.
Oh, wow.
And so he wrote a book called The Mouthtrap, and we're going to be talking all about having challenging conversations.
Wow.
And so for me, this is not just about, obviously you got fun and all that, but it's that idea of letting people into the authenticity of what I bring and represent every day of my life.
I can tell you something that's extremely powerful. I don't know if you've had your parents or at other events, but
Never.
Every single event that I have, people get to see everything that encompasses Greg Todd. And I think that the content, all the other stuff I know is going to be amazing. That's great. But when people can understand, this is not an act. There's a reason why Brandon Siegel is Brandon Siegel. And so it starts to allow people to put the puzzle pieces together. I get it. I see the dad now. I see this. I see that. I see the kid.
Yeah.
Okay, I get the whole thing now. I totally understand why he rolls the way that he rolls. So that's really awesome, man.
So
That's really cool.
2025 is in my book, the DNA of me. And that's really what we're talking. My
that's
kids are
awesome.
going to be there. My father's going to be there. It's going to be very special. But then you get to meet my whole team. You get to meet a lot of the people that have come all 3 years are coming back. We've got a great repeat audience. I've never had one person say they did not make a lifelong friend from the conference. And for me, that's really special.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that to me is one of the, legacy plays whenever I'm doing these events. It's you're going to learn the stuff and that's great. But it's the relationships that are built, and those relationships will last well after we're gone from this industry. And that's the best thing ever. So,
Absolutely.
Anyways, okay, this is fantastic. The site that they can go to register is
growthcodeconference.com.
growthcodeconference.com. You guys, here's the deal. This will be the first live event that I will be attending. I'm actually going to be having a talk with my audience at the end of this month, going into next year, of what you all need to be doing, and you're either going to be reactive again, or you're going to be proactive about how this 2025 is going to go for you. It is in your best interest to be proactive. And the best way to be proactive is to be intentional. And the best way for you to practice intentionality is to schedule. And so for me, I am scheduling out the times that I want to be with my wife, the times that I want to be with my kids, times that I need for me, times that I need to be able to grow me, to grow my skill set, to grow my mindset. And I do that through events, not just events that I host, but events that I go to. So for 2025, my first event that I'll be going to is yours.
I love it.
And I'm excited about it. And I'm advising every single one of you that's listening to do that. Like, whether it's Brandon's event, whether it's another event, like, you need to set aside time that I'm intentionally going to build my network. I'm intentionally going to build my skill set. I'm intentionally going to challenge my mindset. And I need to do that in a condensed period of time. Yeah, I can read a book here. Yeah, I can, try to call a network with somebody on the phone or whatnot. But I could go somewhere for a couple of days and get all of that done and enjoy myself at the same time? Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm in. So anyways, I'm excited about it. growthcodeconference.com. You guys, if you haven't already signed up, please sign up. There's a few seats left. But I think you're cutting it off December 31st. Is that right?
December 31st, and I'm a straight shooter. We've got 27 seats left. That's it.
27 seats left.
27 seats.
Right,
so make it happen.
You're in, you're out. Go ahead and sign up, growthcodeconference.com. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Yes, awesome.